Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Chorus Cornix, and welcome to Yacc, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game I played for a week and then I'll talk about it. This week's game is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. It was released in 1992 and it's an action-adventure developed by Nintendo EAD and published by Nintendo. And also there were spoilers up ahead, just so you know, but first a little backstory. I said this a couple of times throughout my podcasting career that I didn't grow up with a Super Nintendo, and I played this game during my high school days because that was a time when emulation was quite new and exciting. So I technically grew up with another Zelda game called Ocarina of Times. But this is a good game. I'm sad that I didn't play it when it came out. So as you start up the game, you're prompting to the game's title and the resemblings of the Triforce. And if you wait a bit, you will get an introductory story to the whole game. So as the game really picks up, Link is sleeping, he's having a dream, he's been contacted by Zelda to basically go rescue her in a dungeon. And for some reason there is this wizard called Agahamin, or something in the likes of that. So he needs 7 or 6 girls to break a seal that was formed by 7 or 6 wise men. I think the main plot is that there is this light world called Hyrule and this dark world that probably is called Dark World, and he wants to bring them all together because that's what evil guys do in this kind of universe, I guess. So at this point in this time, Link is actually living with his uncle, so his uncle is supposed to deal with this, so he leaves the house and tells Link not to leave it. But of course we're not going to do that, so Link goes to a chest and grabs and picks up a lantern. So a lantern is used to light things up, so you can see the darkness through the darkness in the dungeon. So you take your little lamp and you leave the little house and you go down to the dungeon, and it's to the right side of the castle. So Link finds his uncle dying down in this dungeon, and it's kind of sad actually. The uncle gives Link his sword and teaches him the spin attack, and then he passes away. So you do the spin attack by holding the B button for a bit, and it's actually a good technique to deal with most enemies because it covers 360 degrees around Link. And you bring up different items such as the lantern by pressing the Y button. So I explored a bit and I found a map. You bring up the map by pressing the X button, and there are different floors and keys, just like any other Zelda game. And it's one of the more known tropes in the Zelda games. The exception might be Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But most Zelda games actually have the current item you need to defeat the boss in the same dungeon, which is kind of stupid but also kind of funny. And then I picked up the boomerang, and you can grab stuff with it and you can stun enemies for a short bit of time. So you can also upgrade most items if you find a great fairy, and they're mostly well hidden throughout the game. And the world is not that big by any means, but it's a little bit tricky to find. So it's a funny thing, you find these chunky fairies, if that makes sense, and you throw in an item like a shield or a boomerang and it gets upgraded, it gets magical. So I went deeper into the dungeon and I found the first boss, which is this armored dude that swings a ball of chain. So this game is a little bit funny. There's a technique you can use on this boss. You can pick up pots like most Zelda games and you just throw it at him. So this guy goes down really easy. You just throw 2 dots at him or pots at him and he's gone. And then you rescue Zelda and she tells you that there's a secret passage that leads to a sanctuary behind the throne room. So you go up to the throne room and you push that little ornament aside and you go down into the dungeon below. So down in this dungeon it's very dark, but you can use the lantern to light up like small torches on the way. You will encounter keys like bats, rats, and ropes like snakes. And it's also a funny convention with Zelda naming things in a weird way. Like the most famous enemy is probably the like, because it's an AVGN meme as well. So I eventually reached the sanctuary, and there was this old man that was really helpful, and he promised to take care of Zelda when I was out adventuring. So I got a heart container from a chest, or a piece of art, and I was told to go to Kakariko village to find the Master Sword, because now I'm out on an adventure. So it's a really nice thing. It gets marked with a little X on the overworld map, and you can zoom in and stuff, and it has this Mode 7 effect to it, which is a minor thing, but I like it. So I arrived at Kakariko village and I started to explore. So I went down or jumped down the well of the town and I found these bombs. And bombs in any Zelda game is used to blow up walls and, well, there's marked with a crack or something like that. And there's a lot of hidden goodies in this town. So, I started to explore some more. So I went to a salesman. I got an empty bottle for 100 gold pieces or rupees. But I think I'm used to playing Ocarina of Time, right? So my first instinct was that I gotta catch fairies because if you die, a fairy will revive you if you have one in a bottle. This game plays a little different. You actually need to get a bug net in order to catch a fairy or bee or insects and whatnot to keep in a bottle. In Ocarina of Time, so you just swung the bottle and you put stuff in the bottle. So you have to talk to this sick kid in lying in bed and he will get you one of these nets. But he won't give it to you unless you have a bottle to begin with. There's also another empty bottle you can find while roaming into a random house. And it's always funny in Zelda games, you go into houses that people live, you just barge in and take their stuff, their rupees, their everything that belongs to them, basically. It's kind of funny how this Zelda thing, I don't know. So apparently the soldiers that are corrupt working for the main bad guy is actually put up wanted posters for Link, and some of the townspeople in Kakariko village will help you, others will just call on the soldiers and the guards. But I talked to some useful or helpful NPCs and they told me to go to the other side of the world because that's where the village elder is supposed to be. I think he was called Shasharala or something like that. There's many strange name in this game. So you go to him, you talk to him for a bit, and he will tell you that in order to get the Master Sword, you need to get 3 pendants. Just like Ocarina of Times, you need to get the Pendants of Courage, and the Pendants of Wisdom, and the Pendants of Power or Strength. So that's the quest. So the first Pendant of Courage is actually nearby in the temple, so you just go down and explore the temple. So the first temple is a real cakewalk. You just walk in there, you find a bow and you fight the boss. There are these blue knights that will charge at you, but you use the bow to kind of keep them at distance. But you can also use the sword. There's not a big deal. After defeating them, you get a piece of heart and you go on the next quest for the next pendant. So the next pendant is out in the desert, so you need to do some exploring in order to get there. But once you get to the main entrance, there's like this stone tablet, like an altar. So you need to go back to Kakariko village to find a book. And this book, if you read it in front of the statue, will open up the temple itself. And also you get these Pegasus boots from the wise man that will let you do this charge. And that's how you knock the book out of the bookshelf. And it's kind of a useful attack to deal with enemies as well, because Link just rushes in a straight line with his sword out. And it's also a great way to traverse the land or the map, because it makes you move a little bit faster. I think you can crack up these stacks of rocks as well if you run into them with this power up. So in the desert temple you will find the power glove, which I think is a blatant reference to just that Nintendo accessory called the power glove. And the power glove lets you pick up stuff. That's what it does. And the boss in this temple are these sandworms. And also if you beat them, you get the pendant and a piece of heart. So now you have the opportunity to start exploring the world itself. So you can go up the stream to Sora's domain and you will encounter this ugly fish, because back then I think it was after Ocarina the Soras became more beautiful, but in this they're more ugly, fishy looking. So go to the end, I think it's a waterfall, and you encounter this big fish and you can buy the Sora slippers for 500 rupees or something like that, and that makes you able to swim. So you can swim and explore more of the areas. You can get an empty bottle from a guy that's under a bridge fishing. And there's a couple of other things you can get. You can get the ice rod now, because now you can swim and so on. If you know where to look, you know where to find most of the things. And this game is open, more or less. You can pretty much go anywhere you want, but the pendants and stuff are marked on a map, and you need to have all the 3 pendants in order to get the Master Sword. So what you do is you collect these pendants, and you will go into the Lost Woods and you will find a Master Sword. You will pull it out of the pedestal, and this is where the real adventure begins. So I don't really like to spoil much of the game, because this game is one of those fantastic games that I believe people should play. There are a couple of items that are really useful, such as the hook shot. I think this game actually introduced it, and there's the ocarina itself that makes you fast travel. It summons this little bird that that will you fast travel across the map. There's also this mechanic that I forgot to talk about, but it needs a mentioning. When you're up through the Death Mountains, you escort an old man, and he will give you a magical mirror. And this mirror will teleport you to the other part of the game, which is the Dark World, where everything is dark and everything is, well, more grim. And you need to go between the light and the dark world in order to get to the different shrines. And not shrines, but thinking about Tears of the Kingdom now, but not shrines, but temples. So you need to traverse between these worlds in order to get there. So gameplay. Stop the evil wizard's plans and save Hyrule and the Land of Light. Control, the D-pad moves Link around, and a nice thing about the control scheme is that you can move in diagonal patterns as well, so it's not like the first Zelda game where you're stuck like up and down, left and right. It's a nice thing you can do when you hold the sword button in, you charge up a spin attack, you can move diagonally and position yourself just about right. So the X button brings up the map, the start button brings up the item menus, and the Y button uses the items, and the A button talk and interacts, and you can grab stuff with it, and the B button swings your sword. Graphics. This game looks really good. It has this cartoon feel to it, and it's really bright and vibrant, and it's a huge leap from the original Zelda graphics, in my opinion. It looks really good. Sound and music. Koji Kondo made the music for this game, and it's introduced a lot of themes, the Kakariko Village theme, the Fairy Fountain theme, and Zelda's Lullaby. But my favorite theme is actually the Dark World theme, because it always makes me pumped to play this game when I hear it. Easter eggs, secrets, and glitches. So there are a couple that I know of. If you go into any house in the Kakariko Village, there is a chance that you will come across a Mario painting. So if you position yourself in front of it and pull on it, you will some rupees will drop down, some blue rupees. And there is the famous, if you hack too much on a chicken, they will invade your entire screen, try to take you out. And then there is the Chris Houlihan room, which is this room that loads when the game doesn't know where to put you. So you can trigger this really early if you, for instance, if you run into, if you go down a dungeon, like a hole in the ground, you can put a bomb in front of the hole, position yourself between the bomb and the hole, and it will knock you into the hole, and that will trigger this secret room. So there was this competition where this guy called Chris, he won, so he got his own room in the Legend of Zelda, and this is the only way that I know that you can trigger this effect, this room. There's also some funny things with a bit further in the game. There's this like dam structure that you can open up for the water to flow out, and once you do, you will the water outside will be emptied out, and you will find a fish. So you can pick up this fish and you can bring into another body of water, and he will thank you, because fishes can talk in this game, obviously, and he will reward you with some rupees, I believe. There are some weird things. You can, in the Kakariko Village, you can also throw some magical fairy dust on a lady, and she will disappear for some reason. Maybe it's a glitch or a bug. You can also go into the blacksmiths, build their fortune a sword, and you can bring your own hammer that you get later in the game. You can hit the steel when they're working on it, and they say like something like, don't bring your amateur tools to our workshop, or something like that. So there's these hidden things that people randomly discover, which I think is kind of cool. In conclusion, I wrote, yes, play it. This is one of the best SNES games. It looks good, it sounds good, and it holds up today, I think. The only nitpicky or negative thing I can say about the game is that it's a bit to take in for newcomers. So you have all these mechanics, and I think gamers today are a little bit spoiled by having everything tailored to their needs, so you can have options. But it's a minor nitpick, and the game is really good. It's one of those games that I definitely can recommend to people if they get like a SNES Mini and want to try something new. And it's kind of one of those things that I could have grown up with this game, but I didn't have a SNES. But I'm glad that I played it this week. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.